Hey there, Nastygram listeners. Welcome to our new feed, the Nastygram D&D Podcast. Dropping a quick announcement at the start of this episode to do everything you can to spread the word about our new feed. Please post about it, share it, tell it to a friend, review it, and help us to get our new D&D platform off the ground. And stay subscribed here and, of course, on the Nastygram RPG Podcast, as we will continue to bring you Nastygram actual play podcasts, now coming at you 2 feeds at once.
Here comes the Nastygram.
Send a priest to save my soul, forget it.
Welcome back to the Nastygram RPG Podcast. This is a Tangled Web, Chapter 5, Dark Deals.
Feeling it too hard is the poison to the heart of a sick.
We see Silavar sitting on a small boulder while the rest of his raiding party rests. His eyes slowly scan the surroundings. Somewhere, a sound echoes down the passage. His sword, the Dark Star, swirls from an inky black cloud and into his hands. He waits. Nothing. And then a voice rumbled through his mind.
And where have you been, child? Your absence was noted.
Not for the first time, Silavar wondered if he was mad. The voice in his head had no source that he could tell. He would have blamed the shattered blade that now lay in his hands, the one taken from the vaults of Blindenstone. But the voice started before that, and since then it had given him power. I was sent to the surface by the matron Duskren to carry out a raid on the surface dwellers. It was in their temple that I felt alone.
You are never alone.
But my magic would not work.
Then you must become stronger. Tell me, now that you have seen the heavens, what do you think of the surface? This world from whence your people came?
I only glimpsed it, amid the blood and death we brought with us. Yet no sooner had we fulfilled our mission than we were betrayed by House Tu and Tarl. They have lost the favor of Loth, but still cling for power. We must hunt her down and extinguish her, else Mother's plans may be ruined.
I am sure your mother has planned for your failure. She cares so little for you. You are merely a tool at her disposal. You see it, don't you? She sent you to the surface, surrounded by enemies, a suicide mission. Even as I look upon you, I see that you were touched with death. You are marked by shadow now.
Silavar rested his hand on his ribcage, where the hungry darkness, the hallow as the half-elf called it, had wrapped its coils around him in the fallen house of Lorel. It had pulled on his life force. A large swath of his skin where the tendril had grabbed, now scarred as abyssal black, cold and numb. If he looked at it for too long, he swore it would undulate. He shivered at the memory, remembering as it took his comrades, as it rolled down the stairs looking for anyone or anything, causing even the strange group of surface dwellers to flee. Silavar grit his teeth. I am a blade of House Duskren, and I am instrumental in our ascension. That is why I was given this critical mission. Do you hear me? There was nothing but the sound of the Underdark.
The flame of infernal hellfire flares, and we see the faces of 5 dark elf women standing around a brazier. Within the fire, we see the red-skinned form of Petrix, the imp, crawl out. Matron Duskren looks to her left and right at her oldest daughters, both of them black-haired and black-eyed. They smile as they look into the flames. Across from them, Matron Vendry and her daughter exchange nervous looks, unnerved by their strange allies and the comfort they seem to have in front of the flames. Matron Duskren looks to the imp. Tell the Vendry what has happened. Pitrix glanced nervously around the room. The priestess of House Tuantarl has escaped. She is no longer with our allies. Matron Vendry, it would seem your son has betrayed us. Matron Vendry glances at her daughter again, and then back towards House Duskren. She's speechless for a moment, when Matron Duskren raises a hand. Males, unpredictable, unreliable. But I expect more from your daughter. They've been cut off. They have no chance of catching her. Fenra is too far ahead. You will make this right. Everything hinges on stopping Fenra Tuantarl. Matron Vendry looks towards her daughter. Take our finest warriors and go out. See that this priestess does not return to the city. Meanwhile, you all stand on a ledge at the edge of a cavern near a mile-long lake. Deep below is a forest of stalagmites sticking up out of dark water. Along the cavern walls are dozens of waterfalls. Some of them a trickle, others a raging torrent. Near the center of the lake below you, lit by the glow of a fire, is a collection of boats and floating platforms built around large stalagmites. The smell of burning coal fills the air, and the sound of a bustling marketplace can be heard over the constant white noise of the falling water.
You smell it, brother. The pests. Those dark dwarves.
Is this their place? Is this their township?
Welcome back to the Nastygram RPG Podcast, and I'm going to be your dungeon master, Jake.
This is Josh. I'm playing Zavir, the wizard and secret whisperer of Shar.
Hey folks, Dan here, playing Silavar, the warlock.
What's good, fam? Matt playing Jidin Duskren, the arcane trickster rogue.
Hey, this is Devin. I'm playing Saverkeen Vandry, chosen of Lolth.
All right. Well, before we jump into some role-playing, you guys leveled up at the end of the last game. So when you got out of the keep, you traveled off into the Underdark, and we're going to say that a couple days have passed. You've been kind of wandering without direction through caverns and tunnels of the Underdark. And one thing you all quickly realize is this is a section of the Underdark you haven't been to. You didn't come this way on your way to the surface, so nothing is familiar. And a few days have passed. You're more or less out of rations, although I think that we can get to that, but I think that Saverkeen has a solution for that for the most part. But you've found this place mostly by following the scent and the smells. But in those few days of travel, you guys leveled up. So you want to just give anyone get anything cool, Devin?
I took a feat that gives me proficiency in Constitution saving throws. And then I also get a little increased Constitution. But being able to concentrate on spells when I cast them is super important. So making my con save a little stronger is cool.
You don't have to concentrate when you're a spider, right?
I do.
You do?
So I can maintain concentration while I'm wild shaped.
Okay.
But it's still the same rules about breaking concentration if the spider gets hit.
Right.
That's
I have to make the
crazy.
save.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really hard.
That's an important feat then.
You can't cast them as a spider, but you can maintain them.
I can maintain concentration. I can do some other stuff too, but that might happen
That's
a
dope.
little bit later.
Matt, what'd you get?
I went with another level in rogue, so nothing crazy. Went with the ability score, so I have an 18 dex, So bumped my armor class. A bunch of my little skillies went up.
Attacks and damage.
Yep,
Initiative.
all those
it's a lot
tasty rogue things.
A lot of shit. All right. Dan?
Went for level 4 in Warlock, and so that gave me a new cantrip, which is Mage Hand, and another spell, which was, I think I ended up with Comprehend Languages. It's Warlocks don't have a crazy spell list to choose from. But I also took a feat, which is called Shadow Touched, from my brush with the Hollow. And it gives me +1 to one of the social stats of my choosing. So I went to 18 in Charisma, which bumps my attack and damage. And I got 2 spells. I got Invisibility, and then one of my choosing first level spells from either Illusion or Necromancy, and I went Necromancy, and I went Inflict Wounds.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, and they're great because they don't require spell slots to cast.
Nice.
So I effectively doubled my spell slots.
Speaking of necromancy, I think Xavier got a little necromantic too.
Yeah, you said a couple days have passed.
Mm-hmm.
So amongst camping under a cloak and with some light, Xavier has had time to study one of the books he got from that weird castle. Learned a couple necromancy spells from that. Rave Enfeeblement and Wither in Bloom. And then as I added my level, I went to Wizard 3, Cleric 1. So I didn't get a chance to choose a feat or attribute increases yet, but I did gain 2 wizard spells, which we'll maybe see if they come up. And I rolled decent on hit points for the first time.
Nice. Good for you.
I rolled a 5 on a D6.
What's your, do you have a high con?
I have a 12.
That's good. That's good.
So as far as equipment, you guys didn't really get anything from the house. You're noobs. You failed to loot
You're being
the
chased,
gnome.
Jacob.
By a hungry darkness.
We were reminded of this at the end of last session, too.
So you didn't get the Staff of the Magi that he had.
Yep.
I think the only gear that you guys really took out of the house was Xavier got a couple books. We talked about that. And then Savarkeen, you got a book as well. And you haven't been able to open it yet. It does have a wizard lock on it. So that's for story. Yeah, I mean.
I got to lock it, too.
Oh, you got to lock it.
Yeah, I got to lock it.
You tossed the chalice, though.
I did toss the chalice.
Yeah. So there you are, all perched on this ledge, pretty high up above this long cavern, a mile long, as I said. The glow of the forges and fires from that island on the stalagmite in the middle illuminates the entire cavern in a dim glow. There's also a sort of haze that sits near the ceiling of the cavern from the coal burn.
Jake, are Grey Dwarves or Druger, whatever these guys are, is there like a standing alliance, or is it like fight on sight kind of thing?
No, neither. You see them pretty commonly in Menzoberranzan. Okay. Like they come in with trade caravans and stuff. You know, they're it's not an attack on sight, but like no one would care if you killed a bunch of them also.
Yes.
It's as close to an alliance as you're going to get in the Underdark between different races. Yeah. And one thing you all would know is that Duergar, or as you commonly refer to them, Grey Dwarves, surface dwellers call them Deep Dwarves, but you guys probably just call them Grey Dwarves. They are pretty prodigious map makers. They've got a pretty good idea of where all of the different mines and metal veins and trade routes are. If you wanted a map that was going to get you home, or more importantly, get you to a point where you can intercept Fenra, they would have it.
Xavier voices that, says, the Grey Dwarves are skilled map makers. If we want to get back to Menzoberranzan, or if we still seek the High Priestess, They may know faster ways than whence we came.
There is no doubt that we still hunt for the priestess. We must find her.
Agreed.
Do we have anything to trade these dwarves?
I mean, check my character sheet.
Yep. Not a lot.
I gotta lock it.
Gonna lock it in a book. Could we trade adventuring gear?
Did you say, have we entered this community yet?
No, you're on the edge of this cavern on a cliff overlooking this lake. It's probably close to a half a mile from where you are, but it's sort of built around a larger stalagmite column, actually, that connects from the floor to the ceiling. There's all these platforms built around it and then built around smaller stalagmites around it. And they're all on the water. And you can actually see like some barges and rafts and stuff that are kind of tied up around it. Looking around the exterior of this cavern, as I said, there's dozens of waterfalls. There's water that just is pouring into this lake from different directions. Some of the waterfalls aren't even against the walls. They're coming right down from the ceiling. And there's also dozens of cavern tunnels. Some of them are more like rivers where boats could just kind of glide into here. And some of them are up higher, where like the one that you guys came out of. So there's really dozens of ways in and out of here, which would make it a good trade hub. Grey Dwarves are pretty well known for their greed and, desire to collect things. So they would set up a community like this in a trade hub. It makes sense.
Is there any chance Zavir might be, he hasn't been here, but might be aware of maybe by looking at it, a description that this community may be? Anything you might know about it? Fishing for a...
Yeah, go ahead and
history.
make a roll for me. Make a, you can make a history roll.
I may have missed whether you said it or not. Do we know if they have any contact with the surface people?
The surface people?
Yeah.
You're not sure. Yeah.
Or historically, if they would. I guess we could probably wait for Josh's check to find that out.
15.
No, I don't think so. I don't think you've ever heard of it.
Jake, is Menzo powerful enough or notable enough that like a note of assurancy, like you could essentially write
That's an IOU, sir, and that's as good as mine.
Yep. Would that actually fly if we found someone here who regularly trades in Menzo?
Probably not from you.
Sure.
I mean, if you had
If I were
some way to
a priestess,
if
maybe?
you had some way to like kind of back it, yeah. But probably not even. I mean, not even Savrakeen. You would need some way to really reinforce that you were
Right.
Yeah.
Who are you saying?
Like an
we were?
official trade caravan or something.
Yeah.
There's no line of credit
Yeah.
to the Vandry. Oh, you don't take this?
They may have much of which we need. I do not know what we have to offer them.
They have boats. It's likely that's our way out. But we must make haste.
We need a map.
We need to speak with them first. They will give us the map.
But at what cost? They are a greedy people.
What could they demand from us paupers? Perhaps there is another way to convince them. Greed is a carrot upon a stick.
What is a carrot?
It's what they are drawn to.
Carrots grow underground, bro. You've only ever seen the bottom of a carrot.
There is great glory where we are going, Silavar.
Oh, I'm going to roll my portents at the beginning of the game.
Nodding slowly.
Fucking A.
Wow.
I rolled a
1
1
and a 20?
and a 20.
That's amazing.
You'll remember that to use those.
It's that prayer.
Yeah.
Lady Luck.
As you guys are sitting there talking, directly below you from a tunnel underneath, you see a small skiff glide out into the water. There's one figure on it. It's probably about 50 feet down. The one figure is pushing an oar, like a gondola driver almost. and they're really big. Whatever it is a large humanoid creature, not maybe 8-9 feet tall.
Is there any clear way across the lake?
Not really. It's the entire cavern is water with this almost forest of stalagmites popping up out of the water. So it's almost reminiscent of like an Everglade. So, even watching the skiff below you, it has to weave in and out of these stalagmites. And you can tell that the water is very uneven. There's areas where you could probably walk and it would only be a few inches deep. And then there's areas that just descend probably into underground tunnels that are, oblivion.
Where the aboleth hide.
But we do need a ride.
There. Savarkeen points at the large figure alone on the boat.
You think he's a ferryman?
Can I call him creature? Sorry.
Yeah.
That creature navigates these waterways. If we ask those who travel the road, rather than ones who sit in its delta.
We can't make out what kind of creature this is.
No. 2 arms, 2 legs, very thin.
Thin.
Zavir said that and then kind of looks around, sort of waiting. No one else calls out. So,
did you want us to jump down on it? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, I was waiting for somebody else to be like, "Ho, traveler."
I see.
Guess who didn't take Dwarvish?
Unbelievable. What
This
kind
is
of wizard
definitely not
are
a
you?
dwarf down there,
No.
but assuming it speaks Dwarvish isn't
Undercommon.
Okay.
Zavir calls out in Undercommon. It says, "Ho there, boatman. We are travelers seeking entrance to this city."
It lifts the pole out of the water and still lets the boat kind of coast a little, doesn't stop it, but it turns its head, looks up at all of you. You get a good look at its face, this long hooked nose, these glowing yellow eyes, and this dark, almost black-green skin. It's a troll.
Does it seem to understand?
It heard you for sure. It kind of looks up and regards all of you for a minute, and then it turns that pole around and pushes against a stalagmite to stop its skiff. And it just stares at you. Drow.
Zavir looks across at Savarkeen.
Savarkeen.
It's speaking Undercommon.
Okay. Savarkeen's going to walk out into the water, into some of the
You're
shallow
kind of
parts.
way up above the water.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Her hands go up. We say, "We wish to travel the river to Menzoberranzan. Do you know the way?"
Savarkeen, this creature is not very intelligent, but if we get across to the city, we can find someone who can guide us better. He says it like quietly, like close to you.
She nods. Can you bring...
Hey,
please. Can you bring us to the dwarf city?
Silavar says, kind of amongst us, we could simply take the skiff.
We do not know the way.
He lifts a hand and kind of gestures and says, "You pay
What is your price?
3 meals."
We have food.
That is not true.
Not true.
But
Jake
you
just-
can say it.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine.
That's what I say.
Okay.
Zavir raises an eyebrow at you.
It pushes that pole against a stalagmite and repositions the skiff so that it's right below all of you. And then it steps to the back so that when you all jump down or climb down or whatever, it'll be kind of on the opposite end from all of you. Keeps its space.
I suppose we have few other choices.
We must make haste.
Agreed.
I have not prepared the incantation that would allow us all to fall. You'll have to climb down.
I trust Jidden will make sure if anything untoward is to happen to us, he would be the first to know.
I'll keep my eyes open.
Everyone climbing down?
Yeah.
Or jumping down if you want. It's 40 or 50 feet.
Severe's going to waste a spell slot to demonstrate one of his new spells.
Oh.
He casts an incantation and he steps off the ledge and just stays there. And then he places his hand on the rocky crest and kind of pushes himself away and then slowly just descends.
Jake, I used my mage hand to just gently push him beyond the boat.
It's like a balloon.
Yep. Just pat him.
I weigh more than 5 pounds.
I cast mine as well. 10?
I'm bulking up.
Everyone give me either climb or
I hope you all fall.
acrobatics to get down.
19.
24.
10.
Giant spider having some problems.
You take 7 damage.
Okay.
You climb down, but you somehow manage to hurt yourself. Maybe just cut your hands on the rocks, something like that. But you all get down onto the skiff. You're looking up at this troll. It's wearing like sewn together leathers that are pretty primitive looking. But it's very dark, like dark green in color. And because it's kind of in the back of the skiff, the shadows from the town ahead kind of falling onto it, so you can't really make it out much. But it smiles at all of you, and it says, "Food now." You look around at the skiff, and you see just a collection of junk. Like it seems like you see some nets as well. This thing probably just goes around these tunnels looking for treasure or whatever, and then brings it here and tries to sell it. It's like he's a scrapper. he's a metal scrapper.
Savarkeen reaches into her bag.
As Savarkeen does that, I think Silavar, knowing that we are low on food supplies, readies himself to attack.
Savarkeen is tearing at the interior of her bag. It's like hide, and she's pulling off pieces, and just mushrooms are falling into the bag in her hand. She takes them out. I'll cast Good Berry couple of times and just conjures this food.
Okay. How many berries does one casting make?
10 berries, 1 casting.
Yep.
I'm going to use 2 casts to make just this big handful, heaping handful.
Good shrooms.
Good shrooms.
It kind of sneers at them and says, I don't like mushrooms.
It fills your stomach. This is food. This is what you want.
Poison?
No.
Eat one.
She eats one.
Now make another one.
He reaches out. You realize his lanky arms can reach you from where he is, and grabs one mushroom and eats it.
I gained 1 hit point from eating my
Yep.
Good Berry.
Yes. Give.
She dumps the rest.
If there was ever a creature that didn't need to get hit points from food.
Okay. It turns the stick around and pushes off, and the skiff starts gliding
What is the
towards these
name
platforms.
of this town?
Deepwater.
And what is yours?
Zil.
How far do you travel these waters, Zil?
Few days.
You do not know the way to Menzoberranzan. I can give you more food.
I've never heard of a place called Menzo.
The Spider City.
The Spider City. Chednasa.
Jetnasa.
You see Zavir's head tilts like
No spiders.
quickly towards
But
him.
your people.
Yes.
You have been to Chednasad?
Looks around the cavern and then he points to a tunnel. 10 day.
Zil, in these last few days, have you seen many drow? Have you seen any in the tunnels?
He nods.
How many?
3.
Savarkeen shakes her head negatively.
Yeah. Salavar kind of leans back at this, thinking, wondering how high the troll can count.
He noticed 3 fingers. It doesn't take very long to get to Deepwater. Within a few minutes, his skiff is pulling up to these docks. This long, flat area of docks built around some of these stalagmites. And you see there's creatures, people, for lack of a better term, coming and going all around this place. And they're many different races. There's a few other boats and skiffs and whatnot docked here. And it seems like the boat yards where you are actually quite busy. But as he pulls up, he just puts that pole on the dock and says, "Go."
Salavar kind of springs off and onto the floating city.
Mm-hmm.
Zavirdis leaves without a word.
You guys get onto the docks and you kind of look around, and it's a busy area. There's a lot of mostly mostly gray dwarves, but you see goblins, orcs, other Underdark creatures that you have never seen before, carrying packages, carrying cargo, coming and going. And then near the center of this town is this large column that looks like it's been carved out. It's hollowed, and there's these kind of wooden walkways all around it, connecting to other stalagmites and stalactites. And then below it, built all around it in a big circle, is this marketplace. And that's where most of the action is. That's where it seems most of these creatures are coming and going to. There's a lot of haggling and screaming in different languages. But as you make your way down these docks and, towards where all the action is, you actually all stop because you see a boat, a pretty nice looking boat carved out of actual wood. And standing on the dock next to it, talking to a few gray dwarves, is a surface elf. He's wearing nice looking, like noble clothing almost, and he's speaking in Dwarven to the two gray dwarves.
Even surface dwellers make it here.
And he doesn't seem to notice you or anything. You're talking about kill on sight. Surface elves and dark elves are pretty much kill on sight. He doesn't even regard your presence.
Is there illumination here?
Yes. As I said, there's a lot of like fire.
Okay.
A lot of like braziers and there's a sort of glow coming from that central building. You think there's probably forges in the base of it and stuff like that, letting off some steam and coal.
Is there a name on the boat?
Smoke. No, there's no name on the boat. No. So what I'm going to do now, guys, is I'm going to have you guys do something. Here, we're going to make up all kinds of rules today. I want to do what I'm going to call assessment rolls. So basically, instead of telling everyone to roll investigation, I want you all to roll whatever you want to use, and I'll give you some sort of information about the town and about things that are going on based on the skill that you decide to use and the result you get.
I love this.
I think Jidin is going to use stealth. I think he's going to try to stick to whatever shadows he can and just move through the city. And he doesn't actually speak anything, so he wouldn't be able to understand.
You might do something that's more in line with...
You might still see enough.
See something, like finding a map makers or finding other drow or maybe seeing something that's tied to Menzo.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think he would like stealth around and like just
So-
get a lay of the land, see
Do you-
what's what.
Do you think you guys are, this is not a trick question. Are you guys like splitting up then? Like, are you kind of peeling off from them to do this on your own?
I think I would, yeah.
If he's doing stealth, I think, yeah. For Silavar, he's going to use one of his new spells. He's going to use his comprehend languages. And will use perception to just sort of try to glean information as he moves through this marketplace, listening for something that may pertain to either Menzo, map making, that may pertain to...
Okay. So tell you what, since you're burning a spell slot, take advantage on that perception check.
Great.
Josh, what are you doing?
I think I'm going to go the generic route. I am going to go with investigation. And, we'll maybe speak quick before we split off, but he's going to just kind of travel through the kind of center of the marketplace, listening, observing, watching, listening to some exchanges. It will take me a few moments, but I can ritual cast comprehend languages and know some already, and just try to get an assessment of what kind of things are being exchanged. Is it all goods for goods? Is it is there barter? Is there, knowing that we don't have much? That's kind of what I'm focusing on, is how could we find a way to get what we want without physical assets? What other sort of things are being offered here in exchange for the things we're looking for, which is maps and or guides?
Jake, can I just make a quick change? Could I use, instead of persuasion, deception? And the idea is to try and make it at least outwardly portray that that I'm not understanding anything that's being said around me. So when I'm like standing next to a pair of gray dwarves, it doesn't look outwardly like I'm listening.
Sure.
I have an idea that might help that. Savarkeen, I think, would stick with Silavar, almost act as like his guide. And I think before we leave, we should all talk.
Yeah.
Maybe Zavir and Jidden kind of stay within sight of each other, or at least Jidden has sight on Zavir, so we kind of buddy off. But
Okay.
yeah, we do a little quick huddle before we break off.
Cool.
Ahead. Go ahead, Devin.
Well, go ahead and have your huddle. Or Devin, do you want to tell me what you're going to do?
Yeah, I think I might use insight
Okay.
and just be like as if I'm guiding Silavar, and just do I know that you can comprehend languages?
You hear me
Say
kind
the
of
arcane words.
say arcane words, and you're probably familiar enough with the spell, even if you can't cast it, to know what it is.
Yeah, she's gonna just look to Silavar as he understands everything that's being said, even though Savarkeen may not.
I am ready.
We are all outsiders here.
Yes, but many are here. This is the place for outsiders. Our only hope is to reach Menzoberranzan before the priestess, or to intercept her. If we do not think we can accomplish that, we may want to consider a different path. I was not born in Menzo. I came from Tidnasad.
That is not an acceptable answer.
Then let us find what we can to get us there. But if we do not, what the fuck's the high priestess's name?
Fenra
Fenra.
Tuantaro.
Tuantaro.
If we cannot intercept or beat Fenra, then there is no less hospitable place for us to go to than Menzoberranzan. We should divide our efforts.
Silavar kind of shares a look with you, Jidden. He looks angry that it would even be suggested that we would fail, but he doesn't say anything. Yes, divide our efforts.
I speak not their language, but I can be unseen.
I would trust no one others' eyes watching over me than yours, Jidden, and I can hear all of their tongues. If you can follow me from the shadows, I will move through the center of their marketplace.
Silavar, where is the creature that your mother keeps?
Pitrix moves at mother's will. I do not know where he is or when he is.
If he is not here, her will is not here.
You guys haven't seen Pitrix since that second game, since he came and told you that you had to kill Fenra.
The power to send him here is not an easy task.
Okay. Devin and Dan, why don't you guys start off with your rolls?
Okay. I rolled a 17 and a 19. So 22.
22.
I got a 23 insight.
Ooh, 23
Wow.
insight and a 22 deception.
Teams.
Any particular direction that you wanted to go? I mean, you're in the boat yards. There's the marketplace. There's the sort of tower at the center.
Maybe towards any goods that are being sold that have either a particular that they're catered towards drow, because that might be a place where there's more information in general about them.
Or if there are other drow here.
Like armory, for Elven Chain.
All right. You make your way into that market, and imagine it's a donut shape almost, with the middle of the donut being that stone tower, and then the whole marketplace area, and then around the outside of that is kind of a collection of stalagmites that almost form a rudimentary wall, because they have all these kind of wooden palisades and walkways built between them. And up on that wall, you see a lot of gray dwarves with crossbows. This is made to be a market where people can gather, but it's also made to be a place where if the gray dwarves decided to, they could kill everyone inside pretty efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
You imagine there's also just as many crossbows in that tower in the center that could be leveled down
Sure.
there. So you're really in like a killing hole, but so is everyone else, and they all seem pretty comfortable with it. As I said, multiple different races. And one thing that catches your eye immediately is a group of drow that seem to be part of a caravan. They have several wagons with these big pack lizards kind of tied up off to the side. And at the moment, a drow man is haggling with a few fish creatures.
Kubatoa.
Yes. And as he's talking to them in their weird language and just arguing with them about the price of goods, he sees Savarkeen. He sees you walking by, and tell me, are you outwardly wearing like your house sigil?
Yes.
Okay.
I have, so my Pawafwi is on. I don't think her house has like a sigil. But,
Every house has a sigil.
yeah.
I have it on my breastplate.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe it's on the Pawafwi.
Okay. He actually cuts off his conversation with them and like directs them towards one of his associates. And then he makes his way over to both of you. Marcuso Ignith of the House Ignith of Chednasad. You know that the reason that he introduced his city is because he recognized that you're not from his city, which is probably why he came over to talk to you.
Cool. I'm Savarkeen of House Vandry. Menzoberranzan.
And Silavar Duskrin of House Duskrin.
I don't think I've ever seen travelers from your city here. Not easy to get there. Although, as the worm burrows, it may be closer than Chednasad. The tunnels are not so close.
How far have we gone?
It seems we are further astray than we hoped. We did not start this way, and we are looking to return to Menzo.
You're far, far, far from home, and yet so close.
How far is Chidnasad?
A 10-day.
Menzo?
Months. Unless you can dig.
Are there not arcane ways to travel? Do the matrons of Drow not transport freely between them?
There's arcane ways, I suppose. And
There is another.
some say there's other ways.
Salavar glances up when he says that.
He nods.
If it is short by way of the worm, then it is likely short by the way of the walk.
Just two of you, though. Not a raiding party, then.
Jake,
Unless it didn't go well.
can
It went great.
I make a what kind of check? I want to see. Do I feel like he's trying to pull information for us, or if he's just being
Definitely.
conversational?
He's trying to find out.
Yep.
You know, he's probably concerned just at the sight of Drow from Menzoberranzan. You know, are you a forward scouting party?
Right.
He's trying to figure out why you're here and what you're doing. This is, actually, Devin, this is more information for you because you got the insight roll. He's looking very closely at kind of your clothes, like the condition that you're in, your lack of goods. He's kind of glancing around to see if maybe you have companions that aren't nearly as visible. Yeah, you can tell he wants information. He's worried to see you guys here because he thinks, what is this precursor to?
I think Savarkeen just sees him staring at the symbol. And she sort of rolls up the Pewafwi and tucks it underneath like her breastplate. Is it so strange to see Drow from other cities here? From Menzoberranzan?
We occasionally see Drow from Waterdeep. They pass through. But never from Menzoberranzan.
We had house business, he says, glancing at Savarkeen.
You want to find a quick way home, magical way home, go back down to the boatyard and talk to Tok. His real name is Telrinatok, but everyone here calls him Tok.
And what manner of creature is he?
An Illithid.
Salavar doesn't outwardly flinch, but his eyes narrow.
Dan flinched.
Yeah, I did. I sure as hell did.
An Illithid and a powerful alchemist. I might also suggest the Deep Gnome, Crinbar. He's not like the other Deep Gnomes. He's more pragmatic. He has a shop. There. He points to a stalagmite, and you see a natural sort of cavern in the stalagmite and a sign above it. And to both of you, in whatever language you're more comfortable, it says the mimic's throat. His prices are completely unreasonable, though.
Does he trade or barter?
Yeah, if you have something of interest. But if you're looking for a way up or magical means of transportation, those two are the most likely to know.
Salavar nods slowly. Thank you.
You'll be noticed here. Already eyes are on you. Just a matter of time before Zorn is going to ask to see you.
Is that a problem?
No, but just remember, it is his town.
I see. Does he demand tribute?
No,
We have not much to trade.
there's no tax for doing business here. Well, I have a deal to strike. Best of luck. I hope you find your way home.
Farewell. Savarkeen does a Drow hand code to see if he responds.
He says farewell in the hand code. Yeah, so Savarkeen, from what you gathered from that, Drow from your city never come here. his nervousness was pretty clear to you. And you get it if you saw, there's no alliance really. There's a sort of like embassy almost in Menzoberranzan from Chad and Assad. Like, there is conversation among the nobles of each city. But there's always the threat that another drow city could decide to raid or declare war or whatever. Also, Chad and Assad is not, they don't worship Loth.
Okay.
Menzoberranzan is literally the Spider Queen city. Like
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Does Chednasad have a particular allegiance?
It probably has several gods.
Okay.
It's more normal like
Got
that.
Yep.
Dan, you were using deception.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think of what you might have
Have
gathered.
gleaned?
Yeah, with deception. I think you got the impression he wasn't lying. This is more of an insight, but kind of deception. But you think that he maybe left out other options, and maybe him telling you to go to the Illithid and to the gnome might have been him intentionally sending you to more dangerous routes.
Sure. Because if they're worried about an invasion, they certainly don't want us to take the easy
Right.
way home.
Not to say that what he told you isn't
Accurate.
useful,
Right.
but it's probably not.
It's probably not practical
it's
to lead
definitely
an
dangerous.
invasion. As he walks away, Silavar says, strangely helpful.
Yes, I think we are all outsiders here.
Some more than others.
Yes, but here people can cooperate. I don't expect things would get chaotic here. But I am concerned about our path home.
As am I.
We should find the others.
Jidden and Zavir, remind me what you guys are rolling and make your rolls.
Stealth.
Investigation.
Okay.
So Zavir's kind of cutting right through the heart of the marketplace. Listening, understanding, speaking as he needs to, talking to anyone that he knows the language. He doesn't know Dwarvish, but he knows Undercommon, Gnomish, Goblin, Deep Speech, Infernal, Draconic. So just engaging in like light chit chat, listening in, and basically, like I said, what he's trying to assess is how can we find what we need, maps and or guidance, without having any kind of physical asset to trade.
Okay.
What other kind of things are being done here, and trying to at first kind of keep his eye on Jidden, and then just trusting Jidden's kind of overwatch moving through. Will you allow guidance on this? It's kind of
Is guidance a cantrip?
It's a cantrip. You can do it whenever you're deliberately doing something, but this is something kind of stretched over time.
I would say no, because it's
not like a
specific
one
thing.
action.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. That's not good.
You got a 20 in the bank.
Yeah, I got to use it beforehand.
Ooh.
In lieu of the roll.
Yeah. So nothing for me. It's an 8.
You could say you didn't know that roll and then use it.
We could just cut it.
Not super great for Jidden. It's a 15.
A 15. Okay.
But yeah, he's sticking to the shadows, probably trying to keep his eye open for anybody that be kind of looking at Zavir if they've clocked him, seeing the layout of the city to relay back to him on where to go.
Unless you want to give me advantage because I'm also using comprehend languages.
Not if you're casting as a ritual.
Okay.
If you want to burn a spell slot, I'll give you advantage.
I didn't memorize it, so I literally can't. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'll go to the bank. Second level spell.
Second level.
You're
First time using it, detect thoughts.
Okay, I'll give you advantage +2.
Yeah, there you go.
Ooh.
So in using just the first use of it, which is scanning surface level thoughts.
Okay.
I'm not delving into anybody's mind, and that's where you
Guess
get into
what's here, buddy? Guess what's here?
Don't
Give it a whirl.
That gets into saving throws and them knowing. But if you're just scanning surface
All right.
thoughts
In the marketplace.
yes.
Cool. Get ready to be pincushioned by fucking.
All right, that's a 20.
Ooh, you're not 20?
No.
Oh, dirty 20. Okay. All right. And 15 for that stealth check for Jidden,
Yep.
right? All right. The two of you make your way right into the center of the marketplace. You notice that the shops that are built around the column in the center, which you learn by overhearing some conversations, is called Stone Spine Tower. You learn that all the shops around the base of Stone Spine Tower, kind of built into the the column, seem more kind of permanent, more well established, while everything on the outside is very modular, able to kind of be picked up, packed up, and put on a boat and taken away pretty quickly. You do see that place called the Mimic's Throat, which is interesting, but you keep going. And around the other side of the column, you find a place called the Sojourner. And it appears to be some sort of tavern and inn. It's attached to the column, but it's also kind of has these walkways that attach to another stalagmite. And it seems like that entire second stalagmite is a tavern and an inn. And you're hanging out outside. You haven't even gone inside yet. And there's a lot of different dwarves and a few dark elves, a lot of orcs and goblins as well, standing outside of the Sojourner, drinking, having conversations. And Josh, as you're scanning surface thoughts, one thing kind of keeps coming up is that a lot of the people out here are a little nervous because Torm is inside with his company. And the reason a lot of them are outside drinking is because Torm tends to start a lot of bar fights and they don't want to be there. You get from kind of gleaning these surface thoughts, you do learn that Torm is an orc and he's the leader of a mercenary company.
Okay.
A couple between conversations and kind of surface thoughts, you do realize that mercenary work is pretty good here. Everyone wants bodyguards. Everyone's got jobs they want done that are dirty. Torm is pretty well off. He's pretty well established as the sort of go-to. And the impression you get is that with that 20 roll, you could easily get mercenary work from a lot of these different merchants as a, swarthy group of dark elves. There's a good chance the better the work is, the more likely it is to draw Torm's attention and for him to get upset that you got the job and not him.
Okay.
So he's kind of got a bit of a monopoly on that market.
Xavier kind of lingers there for a bit, kind of just leans into the shadow around a corner, working through the rest of the spell.
It's a great use of the spell.
And then with that, he kind of looks around, probably not seeing Jidden, but kind of scans the crowd, and then his eyes flick back to where we all first separated, and kind of nods to himself and makes his way back there.
Okay. Meanwhile, Savrakeen and Salivar, were the two of you going to head back to that meeting spot?
Did Matt get anything from his stealth check?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Matt.
I figured we didn't die, so that was a success. Success for me.
The
Matt,
dumb wizard didn't get fucking stabbed.
You got a 15, right?
Yeah.
All right. I rolled a 1. You are watching... You're watching Xavier pick his way through the crowd. You're actually up on one of those catwalks that wraps around the outside of the Sojourner. It's this balcony. Inside, tables and patrons sitting around having drinks. But you like these balconies because there's not any light up here. It's very dark. And you're able to make your way around the exterior and keep an eye on the ground level and on Xavier pretty easily. And while you're slinking around on this catwalk, you notice someone else doing the same thing. You see a figure in the shadows watching Xavier. You see Xavier kind of look around and then look back towards the spot where the meeting spot, and then start heading that way. And then this figure starts following him, first along a catwalk, and then when it gets to the end, you see it's maybe a dwarf. It's a small creature. It's wearing a heavy robe. You can't really make out any details with a hood up. And it actually jumps off of the catwalk and onto another one that's like 20 feet away. It's kind of cloak billowing as it jumps through the air and then lands in the darkness. And then you see it kind of scurry across this other catwalk and continue to follow Zavir. You've got eyes on it still as you follow it.
Okay.
Wow.
Who'd you piss off?
We got Spider-Man. We got Batman.
Yeah.
Could Savrikeen ask the drow, Marcus,
You make your way back there, yeah.
what do you make of the surface boat of wood?
That's talk.
Ah. Quite prolific to sail a surface ship down here.
Doesn't really sail. He kind of just keeps it there. More for looks than anything else. In fact, I hear it scrapes across the bottom.
Fascinating.
That same boat had the surface elf.
Yes.
The ship has become fat and lazy.
Nice.
All right. Reconvene.
Yep.
Reconvene. Jidden, are you going to reconvene with them?
I think he's going to probably try to follow.
That figure is following them. So following it, you can kind of get into a position where you can see both groups.
Yeah.
Okay. So the three of you kind of reconvene and Jidden is not there.
Shall we wait?
I trust Jidden's eyes are on us.
Then his lack of presence suggests something.
Perhaps.
What did you find?
I sought to find a way for us to... what kind of trade we could make. It is clear this place is rife with merchants and travelers seeking mercenaries. I find it highly likely that we could trade for a guide, companionship on part of the route, or maps. But in return, it would take our service. If we are to align these in a direction that is advantageous to us, it could be a win. We cannot afford the time to go off route. However, there is one. His name is Torm. He is an orc mercenary captain. It appears he dominates this particular market. So if we are to take a good job, we might find it difficult to escape his gaze.
There is a flaw in your plan. We are over a month from Menzo.
Unless we find the right maps or a better way.
The map that took us here was a star map. Where it brought us is far from Menzoberranzan. It is not clear if we will make it there before Fenra.
Fenra took the same path. 2 weeks.
Is that how long we traveled?
Yes.
There may be other ways. There may be some who know another way.
So, sorry, just a point of order. You guys didn't you weren't magically transported. It's just that, the Underdark isn't necessarily all connected in straight lines.
Right.
So you're physically just as close as Fenra. You just don't have a tunnel that leads there.
If there's some we could do work for that could expedite that travel. I'm just saying that is, from what I've gathered, that is all we have to offer.
There are 2 such people. We spoke to another drow. He offered 2 options. One in a lithid, another a deep gnome. But they are traders. They are interested in fine things.
But they are gifted with magic. It would accelerate our return.
The deep gnomes are known for their skill in the arcane.
I would prefer the gnome over the illithid. I do not want someone in my head. He kind of pauses over that.
Savarkeen looks and nods in agreement. I am wary of the illithid. We are only 4, and we have not much to trade.
This drow offered this information up out of
Fear.
We are all outsiders here.
I presume that you and I probably talked about our assessment of him.
Yeah.
from Chednasad.
I think he...
Wants to see our backsides.
Yes.
He was fixated on my symbol, my house. She shows that she's hidden it now.
Zavir looks around again, looking for Jidden, kind of starting to get slightly uneasy.
Once Jidden sees Zavir begin to look up and around, Jidden has been moving into a position to get closer to that creature, and I am going to cast Fairy Fire on it.
Fuck. Nice. What's the save?
Classic drow move.
It is a 10 dex.
Oh, I rolled a 1, so didn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
That's the second one in a row. You look around looking for Jidden.
Great DM, my favorite DM.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you see this form on one of these walkways illuminated in fairy fire. And it's a goblin. It's a goblin wearing a black leather robe, kind of crouched down, hiding. But as soon as the fire illuminates its body, it starts to at first panic and try to put it out. And you all see this.
There are eyes already upon us.
How far away is it?
Maybe 50 feet.
Zavir just immediately looks at it and calls out in Goblinoid, pointing a finger towards it. Come! Not to...
Are you casting a spell?
Ejaculate.
I cast commands.
Did we see the way he was looking at us?
I guess it's up to the creature how it interprets that command.
It is
In
a goblin.
Goblin, there's very different words for go to that place and procreate. And I do the first one, and it is...
Yeah, the
Make a roll for that.
goblins call that bustin'.
Yeah.
Bussin'.
Yeah, he casts command, and it is a DC 12 wisdom save. I could use another one if you don't mind.
I rolled a 19, sorry.
Portents! Oh, you idiot!
Damn it, Josh! You're so bad at
I
this game.
forget I have to do it ahead of
So
time.
bad.
Can we rewind the track?
Let's cut it.
That'd be other uses.
That was fucking ominous. Jesus Christ.
It stops trying to put out the fire, and then it just looks at you, kind of confused. And
It's like I'm not even turned on. I can't.
and
Not even hard.
and then it says in Goblin, I just want to talk. Just talk.
Zavir looks around and then says more gently in Goblin, then come here and we will speak. He gestures like off to the side. I assume kind of our wherever we broke up was sort of away
Yeah.
out of
Make this go away.
Lasts a minute, so.
It's a concentration. You can break.
Oh, does it?
Yep.
Oh, then I'd break it.
Didn't reveal himself.
No, he's probably still hidden.
All right.
fucking not yet.
Nice.
Yeah.
Um,
Don't
Go to
need to.
rogue.
The fairy fire goes away. It jumps down and walks over to you guys. Stays about 20 feet away. But
Do any of you guys speak Goblin?
I have
No.
comprehend languages up still.
do you all speak Undercommon?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. It switches to Undercommon probably. So this goblin, maybe 3.5 feet tall, black leather robe, hood up, dark green skin, and really really snaggly yellow teeth. That's what you see under that hood. You don't see any visible weapons.
Kind of a little world building thing to throw out there. because the idea of common is kind of silly,
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be cool if whenever we speak under common, you have to keep it like really basic.
Okay.
Yeah, we've
Like
said a
subtitles.
few things, but like just you can't. There's limit your word choice.
Sure.
That cool?
No idioms.
Yep.
No idioms in Undercommon.
Yeah.
Why are you following us?
You're new.
When I saw the fire in the shadow.
Hmm?
Oh, I just used an idiom.
Many new here. All are new here. Why us?
Outside drow, not normal drow. Maybe useful drow?
Useful who?
Maybe useful to Trolltooth.
Who is Trolltooth?
I'm Trolltooth. Maybe you are useful to me.
Say more.
Not here.
Silavar puts his arm out, like gesturing, like lead the way.
He looks around. Too many eyes. Go do your business. Meet me at the Sojourner.
When?
Tonight. There's a clock.
They
I
have
don't
one
know.
like the Nubble in Menzo.
That Menzo has the what do they call it? Narbandal.
Narbandal.
It's a giant stalagmite that is lit up with heat, and as the heat dissipates, that's how they track the day. But I would say here that they probably have an actual clock on
I like that.
on the stone spine tower. They're dwarves. They're into that shit. He says, midnight, the Sojourner.
There we will be.
And he skitters off into the darkness.
Trolltooth? Is that his name?
Yes.
Trolltooth the Goblin.
Trolltooth is right about one thing. There are many eyes out here.
We were told that the leader of this place, his name is Zorn. He may call for us.
We would be wise to keep any identifying sigils hidden.
Perhaps. On the other hand, people know that they must respect Menzo.
Not here. Menzo is an idea, and we are far from that idea having any force.
Silavar sighs, looks impatient, but nods.
Where I grew up in Chidnasad, Menzo is derided, a city of fanatics, single-minded on a god they don't follow.
Savarkeen has this crooked look on her face as Zavir says this.
Yes. Sister, they are not also enlightened.
Do you mock me, Zavir?
I merely tried, as you've asked, to give you guidance on the outside ways. Anything I may know. I've shared a part of my history, something not many know. They do not call Menzoberranzan home.
They are mistaken not to fear us.
We are mistaken to think that our worldview is echoed by all drow. They do not look to us the way we look out.
They will learn the way. What now?
They think us all devout followers of Loth that would never dabble in other gods' domains. Zavir lets his eyes drift over Savarkeen when he says that.
Silavar looks out across the water.
You're all doing that meme where you like look away.
When the Spider Queen deems that I am no longer worthy of her blessing, then that will be the end of Drow. There is no one more devoted to my family than myself.
Zavir makes like a affected look like, I don't know what you're accusing me of. I didn't say anything.
My devotion to my house and the survival of my house. That is what is important to me.
Be that as may, we have some time. Do we go to the Sojourner now? I think we have 2 hours before Trolltooth is ready. I trust Jidden's eyes are still on us. Do you wish to speak to any of these that you've heard their names? Or should we go there and get our place and wait? From what I understand, Torm is there now.
Why would we not deal with Torm directly then?
Torm is, if anything, a competitor.
Sorry, Torm and Zorn, different people.
Yep.
Torm is the orc mercenary.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Zorn is a deep gnome.
Mayor of Deepwater.
Rather a gray dwarf. Mayor.
I meant talk.
Talk is the Illithid.
The Illithid. And the name
Here,
of
let
the
me
deep
let me
gnome
review
is
real
Crinbar.
quick. Yes.
Guys, if you're listening at home, just click to the side. You'll
Hold
see
on.
the cast of characters or
All
magic
right.
persona.
Here we go.
Yeah.
I'm going to go through real quick who we've been introduced to or heard of. Zorn Stonespine is a gray dwarf. He is the leader of Deepwater. Trolltooth, the goblin, is the one who just introduced himself.
And what's his background?
Stuff. There is a deep gnome named Crinbar who apparently sells magical things at a place called the Mimic's Throat. There's an Illithid named Talk who is an alchemist and lives on a boat with an elf, apparently. And then there is an orc mercenary who is in charge of a mercenary group here in the city whose name is Torm with a T. Went from 0 NPCs in the last 3 games.
There's the Laurels.
Where to, sister?
I wish to deal with. Why can we not deal with Torm? If he is a mercenary captain interested in trading in services, the services of our houses.
The way I understand it, Torm would only be interested in taking the jobs that we may bid for. He is, if anything, a competitor. He is not offering jobs. He's trying to take them.
The Drow Noble is trying to comprehend this as you explain to him, who she's never had to look for a job or anything in her life.
Yeah, you're like, we'll hire him. And
Yeah.
he's like, no, you need money, dude. You need money to hire people.
If we seek to trade in our services, Torm is, if anything, going to be casting his eye on us as someone who would take business from him.
We cannot be servants in this place. I do not want to work or travel in fear of this Torm. I think we should move on from this place.
Yes, sister, that is what we're seeking to do, but the way to do it, we must have some means of getting what we need. Unless Loth has also gifted you with platinum bars under those robes, I see the only thing we have to offer is what we can do.
There is one other thing. We know a location of a secret. House Laurel. It cannot be a commonly known thing. An elven keep below the surface, long forgotten.
Some things we have recovered there, things I would rather not part with, but
I do not suggest that. I suggest we only part with the information of its location.
no matter what, Jin's eyes are on us, but others may be as well. We should find a place that we can all convene, find out what else he's seen, and get out of the gaze of anyone besides Trolltooth that may have followed us.
The Sojourner?
Yes, Sojourner. I
Jig-
will.
Do we have some pocket money, some traveling money?
I don't know. What's on your character sheet?
I have 3,000
Writing
platinum.
down
No, you don't.
2,200.
Very little. There wouldn't have been any reason to bring coin with
Right.
you on a raid.
I was
it
gonna-
wouldn't really make any sense.
I was going to buy.
I would say
Gonna
no.
buy some tourist,
I would say there would have been no reason to bring any money with any coin. You know, yeah.
And the raiding party probably took if whatever we recovered from the raid, if it would be taken by.
Wow.
I have
Fenra.
37 elven ears.
Yes.
Tell you what, I'll say you each have 2d20 gold that you looted from the town.
I was going to say, if those NPC heroes had killed
I
us.
use my portents now.
Oh, fuck. Oh, no.
It's pretty good. 31 gold.
All right, write them down.
All right. 26.
And it's all surface gold coins.
5
5 on 2d20?
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
We'll melt them down.
What did you got, Devin?
I have 27.
The rogue found the most. Makes
Mhm.
sense.
All right, we go to the Sojourn.
All right. You make your way to the Sojourn. As I said, it's a large stalagmite building, hollowed out. There's actually windows around the exterior. There is a little bit of light that comes from inside, but it's strangely calming, comfortable almost. It doesn't sting your eyes the way light usually does. It's clearly magical. It's Josh, you've heard of it. It's this very rare thing called dark light. And the entire interior of the Sojourner seems to glow with it, allowing creatures of different types to kind of all see comfortably. There's a large crowd outside, a lot of patrons that are just standing around drinking, acting casual, acting as if they're not scared, but they are outside for a reason. And inside you can hear a rowdy crowd. You hear a lot of yelling, like roaring, like laughter.
Tables being crushed.
Yeah. And when you make your way in...
Zavir, before we go in, he reaches a hand out to Silivar and kind of just pulls your cloak back, like out of your like epaulets, so it falls down in front of your chest.
He stops, kind of still for a moment,
Slowly.
and then continues walking.
And kind of does not touch Savarkeen, but kind of just looks at her after he does that.
She wouldn't let you touch her. She turns and she nods.
And then he looks back and kind of nods and ducks his head towards the entrance and walks in.
You guys walk in, and
I think when you look back to nod, you see Jidden standing behind you all.
Nice.
He gives you a smirk and he says, "Well done, brother. Let us get a refreshment."
I am parched.
As you make your way in, it's like going to a college bar on like a big game night. It's filled with orcs.
Awesome.
I'm already ready for
Clip that.
I was about to say Savarkeen is hiding her bone scepter, but then when it's all the orcs, she like takes it back out again. I'm like, okay, this is cool.
Yeah, there's probably about 24 orcs in here. Some of them are behind the bar pouring their own drinks. There's a couple destroyed tables. They're having a good time. I mean, they're not just like outright destroying the place. They're just being very rowdy and drinking.
Are there any other guests in here?
Yeah, there's a couple other guests, mostly, larger creatures that wouldn't seem like they would need to be afraid of orcs. You also see a table of gray dwarves that the orcs are giving space to. They're not bothering them.
Okay.
These orcs are all pretty well geared. They're wearing nice looking armor. They have nice looking weapons. They're as much as they're acting crazy, they're clearly a well organized kind of militia.
When you said geared, I thought that was like a euphemism for drunk.
Well, they're geared. Yeah, they're geared and they're geared.
Savarkeen's going to look to the party and say, "Stay close to me." And she starts walking through the crowd. I'm going to cast Pass Without Trace. And Savarkeen is just sort of flows with the crowd and like glides, is going to try to make her way up to the bar.
Cool. All right.
Zavir says quietly to Jidden, "The Grey Dwarves are known for the mushroom mead."
Must keep our senses first, brother.
A bartender comes over. It's a gray dwarf. They all look very similar to you guys. They're all gray-skinned, shaved heads, white beards. The women don't have beards, but you haven't seen many women. But they're a little bit taller than a surface dwarf. They're 4 to 5 feet tall, and generally a little bit thinner as well. They don't have this same sort of stocky build as surface dwarves, but just gray-skinned with solid either white or black orbs for eyes. Anyone with any sort of arcana knows that they were originally sort of magically altered by the Illithids like centuries ago, and as a result, they're They're very weird, both in mannerism and in appearance. And they tend to have some weird, I would say Jidden and Xavier know this. They tend to have innate magic. But this bartender comes over, Undercommon, and he says, "What are you drinking?"
Wine.
Do you have spirits?
He nods.
A clear spirit, please.
He nods.
Mushroom mead.
2 mushroom meads, wine and spirits. He walks away. An orc saddles up next to Savarkeen.
She has her shield. She has this little like buckler, and it's hanging around her belt. She's sort of leaning with her back to the bar or wall or shelf.
Okay. He's quite a bit taller than you, wearing half plate.
I look at my own breastplate.
You notice as he puts his hands, like his arms up on the bar, you notice just dry blood on his hands. These guys definitely just came from a job.
Would you like me to treat that for you?
Not mine.
Yes.
Salavar is very quiet in watching this orc.
A cause for celebration.
He nods and he holds up his dirty, bloody, mud-caked hands and says, "Didn't even use my sword."
Tell me of your victory.
Nice. Give me a roll.
Could I argue to roll insight to notice that if he was eager about telling this story?
I don't think you need to roll that.
Okay.
I think this is more, I don't really know if there's a skill. It's kind of just a charisma check, I guess.
Yeah, it could be persuasion. I don't have a lot of charisma. That's why.
Persuasion's good. Yeah,
Okay.
That's fine. I mean, yeah, what do you roll to like diplomacy basically, or to
Persuasion.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
persuasion. I rolled a 9.
a 9? Okay.
She says it very coldly without emotion on her face.
He looks at you and he thinks about telling you the story. And then he just says, "Squeezed his head till it popped." And then he takes his drink and he says, "She's paying." And then he walks away.
Pull out a coin.
Salavar takes a step towards him.
Towards the orc?
Xavier gently like puts his hand on like his elbow.
What are you doing, Dan?
He stops.
We have no honor to defend here.
Thank you, Silavar. It's good to know my allies are eager to help me.
There is always honor.
The only honorful thing to do is to do whatever we need to do to get to Fenra.
I agree. That fool was not going to supply us with passage to Menzoberranzan.
He steps back again to the bar, kind of just glowers out at the group of mercenaries.
You
Where is
see
this
that-
troll tooth?
You see that orc goes over to some friends and they're talking and they keep looking back at you guys. And a few minutes later, about 5 of them approach and they stand around all of you at the bar, very intentionally in an intimidating sort of way, so that they're kind of boxing you in. And one of them says, "Skinny elves."
Savarkeen puts a hand up.
I'm looking at all your stats right now.
The weakest.
You are the weakest party. 3 of you have less than a 10 strength. What's everyone's strength score? I'm just curious.
8.
10,
8.
10.
8, 10.
Where's
Yep.
Ryan? Where's Ryan?
Ryan's good. Ryan's good. He's really strong.
10 is the high stat, the high strength. Yeah.
We are probably, other than our natural disposition, we're probably not a formidable looking party.
Yeah. I mean, no, you're scary looking dark elves, but you're all very scrawny.
These aren't dark elves.
The only one of you is not a dark elf. Yeah.
Yep.
One of them actually reaches out and tries to touch your horn.
He stands very still.
Salavar. You have like, what do the horns look like again?
They're obsidian black, and they're slightly to the side of his forehead, and they raise up and curl back.
Okay.
Sort of taller, and he stays very still, and there's sort of a black mist forming in his hand.
Savarkeen will step up and
One of 'em-
interpose herself.
One of them goes to touch the horn and says, "This one's not a dark elf. Goat man."
Stand down, and he is not your plaything.
That same one says, "You could be my plaything."
Is it a round of drinks you all want? She takes out a handful of gold coins from her pocket.
Maybe something else.
We have nothing else to give.
The sword forms, tip down.
She puts a finger on his chest and says, I will let you walk away, but it must be now.
Can I make an intimidation check with that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Probably won't be, but
Zavir mutters under his breath, seeing things are already not going the direction he wants. Casts fairy fire on the blade.
Okay. All right.
Can I make that an aid for his intimidation?
Yeah.
Cool.
not great.
So you get advantage.
Oh,
I'm aiding you.
better.
Making it look scary. It's a fucking... good.
I rolled a 3, then a 2.
I got a 5.
You fucking poke yourself in the foot with it.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Dan, what does your blade look like again?
It looks it's a slightly larger longsword, and it looks like it's been shattered and reassembled. Mm-hmm. And what holds it together is sort of almost like it looks like black kind of light almost that holds each fragment in place. But
Elves didn't do that.
it's a pretty menacing looking thing.
Yep. He says, its sword's all broken. Let me show you a real sword. And he grabs your hand and starts moving it down towards his pants.
The scepter comes out of her hand, and she cracks it, and it separates. Those vertebrae separate. It turns into that whip. I'm going to cast Shillelagh, and then I'm just going to whirl this thing around and strike his arm.
Oh!
Why don't you guys roll initiative?
Yep.
Not one. I rolled 3, 2, 1.
You're pulling the sword out of your foot.
It's fucking amazing.
And you're just grimacing, trying to make it seem like you didn't do it.
That's a 3 total.
Okay.
10 for Zavir.
All right.
13 for Savarkeen.
Wow. 15 for Jidden.
My man.
Thank God for Jidden.
Jidden's always looking out.
I'll give you Shillelagh.
The strike now.
Shillelagh as a free action.
Cool, thank you.
Before the actual combat begins.
Cool. It's very menacing when she
Yeah.
cracks this thing, and it's this flourish.
And then I'd say Jidden is the first to act. What are you doing?
How many of them are around us?
5.
5.
You said this place it was pretty ruckus. So there are quite a few people around. It's pretty crowded.
Oh yeah,
Is there a second story?
there is.
I think Jidden is...
So currently the 4 of you are, imagine standing kind of in a line at the bar, and these 5 half-orcs came up and stood in a semicircle surrounding you.
Can we tell from their garb, does Torm's crew have any kind of sigil? Are they?
You don't see a sigil, but you assume that. Like I said, there's about 24 half orcs in here.
They're all
not half orcs, and they're all similarly armored. They all have sort of their own take on it. It's not a uniform, but you can tell by the quality of the armor and the fact that they're all orcs. They're probably part of that same mercenary group. It's pretty safe to assume. That being said, you're not fighting 24 orc mercenaries. It doesn't seem like all of them are going to run over and join a fight. These 5 are starting to fight.
orcs,
The others will
not
probably-
half orcs.
Orcs, correct. And also it's not uncommon.
Bar fight.
Yeah. And
we were told they were known to start bar fights.
Right.
Torm's crew.
I think as soon as Savrakeen's spine whip. Is that what you're calling it? Bone spine whip?
Yeah, it's a
Good
whip.
stuff.
As soon as your spine whip comes out,
It's my blue lightsaber.
Jidin disappears into the crowd and just kind of like steps away from the whole thing and is going to move to an elevated position, drawing his crossbow. He's not going to make the first shot on these guys.
Okay.
But he's going to get into a position that he's going to be able to get sort of overwatch over the whole situation.
Give me an acrobatics check to get past them because, as I said, they're kind of surrounding you guys.
Okay.
Good old 3.5 tumble check.
Yeah, I was going to say, can I use, I think I have disengage as a bonus action as a rogue.
Oh, yeah, you do. You have your rogue trick.
Yeah, so I could-
I'll just give that to you, yeah.
Word, I was going to say, I'll
So
take
you use
advantage,
your
but I'll
bonus
take it free.
action to, you actually roll over the bar.
Okay.
And that's like your easiest kind of method of getting out of there. But you're gone and in a shadow. Make a hide check with your crossbow drawn.
Plus 10 from Pass
plus
Without a
10,
Trace.
yep.
30.
All
I
right.
rolled an 11, sorry.
Devin, you're next. As before the whip is fully extended, Jidden has disappeared.
Rogue's gonna rogue.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to strike him.
Okay.
She pulls her hand away, and then at the arm, she spins and cracks this whip. 9 to hit.
I'll miss.
And she takes a step back.
You just kind of crack that whip in the air.
A warding whip.
What did you get, Josh?
10.
10. Okay, so you're next.
Before them?
Yep.
Okay. I saw that Savrakeen kind of got a little banged up on that fall down the rocks a while ago, right?
Yeah. She hides her pain, but
Yeah.
she's...
I was there.
Yeah, you were there.
I'm going to bust out all the new spells. Xavier kind of leans back against the bar and makes an incantation. He throws out of his hand this withered root, and there's kind of this, you get this musty smell and a chill in your stomach. Are they all within a 20-foot circle?
Yeah.
All right. All 5 of them have to make a con save, DC 13.
Okay.
And Savrakeen can spend one of your hit dice to regain hit points plus 3.
Wow.
Interesting.
Necromantic energy draws life force out of them and funnels it into you. So it's only 5 damage to each of them.
Okay.
Or 2 on a save.
Yep. All right. And how much does Savrakeen heal?
1 hit die, which I rolled a 6.
Okay.
Do I add my constitution to
No,
that as well?
my modifier plus 3.
Okay, cool.
Up to your max.
I'm maxed out.
Cool. What does that look like, you think?
I think there's like no kind of flash to it, but there's just this kind of essence. Like everyone, even that's not affected by it, kind of feels it. Just feels like I said, like smell of like rot. It almost makes you nauseous for a second. All the drinks kind of like take a tint on. The food spoils. Any plants or mushrooms wither. And it's more of just a feeling than anything you see.
Okay. And it's cool too because it literally heals Savrakeen. So
She takes a deep breath, a deep inhale.
and you're holding that whip up in the air, and you had all these like scrapes on your hand from the rocks from when you slid down them, and they just you see them just go away, and the orcs all look a bit disoriented. They're sort of like almost nauseous.
Xavier says behind Savrakeen, they only know strength.
And then the one that was right in front of you tries to grab you. So what's your armor class?
I'm going to say 16. I don't have the shield out.
Okay. And give me a strength check.
Can I use acrobatics?
On a grapple check? I don't think so.
To escape the grapple?
You're not escaping the grapple. You escape the grapple on your turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're just controlling the grapple right now. Right? Isn't that how it works?
I don't even know if you get a contested
It is. So when you make
grapple rolls
in lieu of an attack, you make an attempt to grapple, and it's a athletics check for the grappler against either the acrobatics or the athletics of the defender. And if if the attacker wins, then the
he does play
target is
Pathfinder, so
grappled.
he knows
No,
like,
that's 5e.
rules up the
Okay,
ass.
sure. All right. Then make that roll.
I got a 17 on the die for a 18.
So you squirm away from the grapple. What are you doing, Dan? You looking?
My turn?
No, I thought you were looking it up. to
Yeah, I was just
confirm.
going to double check.
So yeah, he lunges for you and you just kind of squirm out of the way. And then another one next to him actually tries to punch you and misses. He has a mug of ale and he swings it at you and just smashes it on the bar next to you. Jiden's not there. Salivar, you take a boot to the back as you're facing a few of them. They're, as I said, they're kind of surrounding you. One of them tries to punch you, and you manage to avoid it, and then you just feel a boot hit you in the back for 4 damage.
Okay.
Josh, one of them swings at you as well. None of them are using weapons, so I'll just unarmed. You actually notice they left most of their weapons at their table. They have like small daggers and stuff, but all of their like main weapons are just left on their table. But it seems like maybe based on your previous conversation, they enjoy fighting with their hands.
Mm.
Yeah.
Does he hit me?
No, he doesn't.
Oh,
he
cool.
missed. Yep. Salivar, what are you doing?
Salivar stumbles. He takes like 1 or 2 steps like forward from being like kind of mule kicked, and he kind of stands up straight again, and he does something sort of unorthodox. His sword is still pointing down in his right hand. He's just going to reach forward and touch the one in front of him with his left.
Okay.
And I'm going to cast Inflict Wounds.
Oh, shit. All right. More necromancy.
Yep. And I'm going to do even more necromancy after that.
Interesting. We're going to have to go back to that cape.
Rolled a 19.
Ooh.
So that's a 25 to hit.
That's a hit.
It's 3d10 damage.
Dang.
They're punching and we're going to just fucking murder one
All
of
he's
them.
doing is touching him.
Yep.
The old Bruce Lee 1-inch punch.
12. I think it's just 12 damage.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't add anything
What
to
are
it.
you doing after that? Was there something else?
Yes. He's going to do his, as the kind of life seems to like drain out of this place after Zavir casts that spell, the kind of color drains out of Salivar as well. And then his eyes go from the sort of solid, muddy topaz color to a cloudy black. And that necrotic shroud he has kind of comes over him, and his eyes kind of stare across at these orcs and need to make a DC save 14 or be frightened until end of next turn.
All of them?
Yep.
What's the
10-foot radius.
What's the save? What kind of save?
It would be a charisma saving throw.
Is that fear or
Nice.
cause fear?
It's the necrotic shroud.
Yeah, become
Oh.
frightened until the end of your next turn. It's a bonus action.
All right. The one that you do this to collapses. 2 of his companions grab him before he hits the floor, and then they drag him away. Like they move away, leaving only 2 of them remaining. And the 2 that are remaining, they're kind of like they don't run from the fear, but noticing that 3 of their companions have already like backed out of the fight, they kind of slowly start to step backwards. Jidden, are you doing something?
Yeah, I think from up in the shadows, Jidden is going to cast Minor Illusion, and he is going to pretty much just make like the shadows deepen around my party members, kind of like pulling light out of the room around them, kind of enshrouding them in the darkness.
Cool.
With that Pass Without a Trace that Savrakeen still has running, so it just kind of seems like we're sinking into, or they're all sinking into a darkness.
The darkness.
Good guy stuff.
I like it. That's enough for those two remaining orcs to back away.
Savrakeen cracks that whip one more time and it snaps from the darkness.
You notice that most of the other patrons have kind of stopped and are watching. And as those 5 orcs back away to their table, you hear, you look over and you see this enormous orc sitting at a table. He's got his feet up on the table and he's got a tankard of ale in one hand. And he says to the bartender, he says, "Their drinks are on the company tonight. Good show." And he salutes you with his ale.
Zavir, he pulls a flask from his belt and steps forward and says in Undercommon, "No use dying from a good scrum." And he pours it on the orc's face. And as he touches him, he casts Spare the Dying.
Oh, he wasn't dying.
Oh, no?
Yeah, he wasn't
Oh,
dead.
okay.
No.
Never mind then.
Well,
I
he's
don't do
definitely not now. He's like,
Yeah, he was pretty badly hurt, but he wasn't.
Salavar regards this massive orc for a moment. His jet black eyes kind of staring at him, and then the color comes back into his eyes, and he tilts his head, kind of in recognition of what he said, and goes back to the bar.
All right.
The sword kind of disappearing at his side.
They give you guys some space, and you're able to stay there and drink for a little while. And then after about an hour, a group of gray dwarves come in, 3 of them, and they make their way directly over to you guys. And one of them has this kind of wispy little beard that's not very dwarven. And instead of a shaved head, he has a sort of the bowl of hair with the balding spot in the middle. And he says, "New Dark Elves, Zorn wants to see you. Come with me." And that is where we will stop.
yes.
We did it right, guys.
Become pretty popular.
Fans.
Thank you for listening to A Tangled Web. Please, if you have time, tell a friend, write us a review, or, just go out and shout it on the rooftops. Check out all of our different social media platforms. You can go to our website and find links at the bottom. There's probably also links on whatever you're listening to right now. That's NastyGramRPG.com, and definitely check out the socials because I tend to put little things on there to help with NPCs and visual aids and whatnot. Our intro music was by A Wilhelm Scream. Theme song is Oath by Adrian von Ziegler. All scores by Adrian von Ziegler and Antti Marttikainen. Thanks for listening.
That's nasty.